And I just thought that, I always wanted to do it on my own. I always wanted to be my own boss. I always wanted to be my own business owner. And like you say, that first year to maybe 5 years in entrepreneurship, it can be very rough, and very isolating. But I think also what I learned was to just, in those moments of isolation, in those moments of being by yourself, spend a lot of time doing some self-reflection. Do a lot of introspection. Look at yourself first. Look at how you can improve yourself. And in that way, improve who you are as a business owner and improve yourself out there in business as well. So that's the thing, I think being our femininity as a woman, you have that brave, strong side of you, but you also have that soft and gentle side of you. And I think that's how God created us. He created us to be fierce, and He created us also to be soft and gentle. So I think you can have it all. You can do it all. Maybe not all the time, but you can do it all. You can, go in there, push your work, push your business, push yourself. But then when you're at home, you're at home. That is your sanctuary. That is your space of relaxation. When you're with your family, that's where you can really just unwind and not have to always be the boss babe,
Sanibonani, hello, hi, and welcome to the Top Woman Podcast, a show where we break down and find out more about the phenomenal women who continue to pave and change the ways that women see business and anything in their fields that they wish to be. Today, I am sitting with a beautiful, gorgeous lady looking brave in burgundy, Dr. Cleo Prince. Dr. C, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, Amma.
I love the look. I love that nails. I love it. So you hail from Gqeberha. Basically, it was known as PE.
Yes.
And it's called the GQ now.
Yes.
Okay. And so I see, that's why you look like you stepped out of a GQ magazine. Tell me one memory from your childhood. When you think back of Gqeberha, Port Elizabeth, what is the one memory you have?
So, when I think back to my childhood, growing up in PE, it's such a small place and people know you, people know your family. And one memory that I think I remember today is when my parents always used to tell me that, when you step out of this house, you represent your family, that you represent your family name. So that's always something that I've kept in my mind. So even when I'm, going about my day, going about my business dealings, I'm always thinking I'm representing my family. I have my family's name front of mind. Yeah.
That means I can just imagine that close-knit family.
Yeah.
Who did your family compose of? I just want to think.
So it's my mom and dad. So my mom was a teacher for many, many years. My dad to this day is still an ordained Anglican priest. And then I've got an older brother as well. Yes.
So now it's such a beautiful, tight-knit family. That's a small family. So I think you guys are in each other's spaces and you support everything. Also, you grew up in the church.
Yes. Yes.
So in 2008, you decide to move from Gqeberha to not another town, but another province.
Yes.
And you went to Durban, DT. Durban is the hype and hub of entertainment, of the vibe. What were you searching for when you decided to leave home and go to DT?
So, ultimately, yes, I was looking to further my studies. I was looking to get my master's degree. But I think I got so much more than just a master's degree. I think my relationship with God deepened so much when you leave home because you don't have that close-knit family to depend on. So where do you find your strength? Who do you depend on? And for me, that was just rooted in my relationship with God. I, of course, met my life partner in Durban. And I also just grew into who I wanted to be as an entrepreneur and as a businesswoman.
I just want to quickly get into that. Now, you move from home and you move into a new city. And that is a problem many a youth face. When you come outside of an institution or a home where the mom is there, the dad is there, or and everybody, you can basically have somebody handling you in a matter.
Yes.
And then you move to a new place and now you don't answer to anyone. and now you are also based on your faith. I love you spoke about your religion and Christianity. But now, did that in any way, it's a new city, it's Durban.
Yes.
It's city lights. I can imagine you're a young girl, it's a small town that you're coming from. Did that present any challenges? Did that by any way kind of move your faith a bit?
I think it does. I think as a whole, you learn so much about yourself. You learn to be street smart. I think that was one thing I really learned in Durban. And you also, you learn to lean on people that are not necessarily family, that become family later on, And I read a quote, I won't forget, I read a quote before I left home that said, when you move to a new place, let that place make its impression upon you. And I think that's what Durban did for me. It really gave me a sense of who I am and who I am in my faith. And it really just impressed that on me. And like I say, it was challenging, but I knew what I was there for. I knew what my focus was. I knew what I wanted to achieve at the end of the day. So whenever I felt like I was wavering from that, I just knew where to bring it back to, because that's what I wanted at the end of the day.
When you chose chiropractic, first and foremost, it's not a path that is normally chosen. Like, if we see it now on social media, it's just videos of people breaking people's backs, and snapping necks, but we don't understand it, what exactly the practice is. So I need to understand from you, coming from PE, moving to Durban, when did the decision to get into that field? And did you have to defend that decision to anyone, be it your family, your friends, or anyone?
So I think I always knew I wanted to be in healthcare. I think I always wanted to be somebody that helped other people. I felt that I was a people's person, so that was a field that really I was drawn to. And I initially wanted to do physiotherapy. But at the time when I was choosing, what I wanted to study, there were so many people going into physiotherapy. And my mom said to me, why don't you try chiropractic? Why don't you look into it? It's something that I think would suit you. And I did my research and I did my homework, and I went to go and spend about 3 or 4 days with chiropractors in PE. And I think that's where that love was planted, where the seed was planted. And I saw not only, how they were helping people, but they had 100% job satisfaction. And I think that's what I was chasing. I was chasing not only a job where I can be helping people, but where I also fill my own cup as well. Yeah.
So you got your master's in 2015.
Yes.
And then automatically you were just like, nope, I am jumping into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Which is the hardest thing I think you can possibly do,
Yeah.
That decision to not move from, instead of working at a hospital or something like that, and literally opening your own practice. And you're doing it still in Durban.
Yes.
How was that decision made? And entrepreneurship is so isolating. How did you deal with that?
So I think, when I made that decision, as a qualified chiropractor, you can basically only work in private practice. We don't work in the public space as yet. So you can either go into private practice with yourself or go into a group setting, practice with other chiropractors or other doctors and stuff. And I just thought that, I always wanted to do it on my own. I always wanted to be my own boss. I always wanted to be my own business owner. And like you say, that first year to maybe 5 years of entrepreneurship, it can be very rough, and very isolating. But I think also what I learned was to just, in those moments of isolation, in those moments of being by yourself, spend a lot of time doing some self-reflection. Do a lot of introspection. Look at yourself first. Look at how you can improve yourself. And in that way, improve who you are as a business owner and improve yourself out there in business as well.
Dr. C, you just said something very interesting to me that I actually didn't think I've ever realized. I know that physiotherapy is available in the public sector.
Yes.
But you're saying chiropractic is not.
Yeah, so you won't find a chiropractor in public hospitals. There is one hospital I know of in Kimberley. Many years ago, I think they did have chiropractors in that hospital setting, but you won't find us in a government institution.
Why do you think that's so? And do you think it's something with what you do in your field? Do you think it's something that would benefit the greater population if available?
So with chiropractic, we are registered with what you call the Allied Health Professions Council, and your doctors who work within the public space, they're registered with the Health Professions Council. So because of the two different registrations, that's why that conflict and that barrier is there to us working in the public space. I do think that maybe within time we might end up in that public space, and I think it would really be of great benefit because you can reach more people, and the more people we reach, the more people we can help. And we can change communities that way. Yeah.
And then with everything going on, you're now an entrepreneur. A few years later, DUT calls you and says, please come back, but not to study and be a lecturer. Did you ever imagine that you'd stand in front of a group of scholars and teach them what you do? And did that position change your outlook in life?
I think I always wanted to maybe lecture, maybe not full time. When they did call me at that point, I think I was happy in private practice, and then I was doing sort of like part-time lecturing here and there, and then they offered me a full-time position. And I think at that time as an entrepreneur, it's a security blanket. So you're getting a steady income, you're not hustling every day, every month, there's not a hustle. I still kept practice going, but DUT was still in my life, and lecturing, I enjoyed being in front of the students because I enjoyed that banter back and forth. I enjoyed imparting what I had learned in private practice for the short time that I was solely in private practice. I enjoyed imparting that on students. And I think a lot of times students in any profession, they sometimes don't get that real life experience. So you come back and you say to them, actually, this is what it's like. This is what worked for me. This is what didn't work for me. So I think I brought a lot of that real life aspect to my lectures and to my students. And I've always said to my students, you have to just keep it real. Like, I don't want to create this image that, a third year or a second year student is sitting there thinking practice is going to be one way, but it's actually in reality a different way. So you'd rather just tell them what it's really like out there so they know to prepare themselves and they know how to, navigate what they're going to find when they get out of DUT or whichever institution. And I think also it did shape me as an individual. I think I saw that practice really is my first love. I saw that that's where my passion really lies. Like, I was happy as a lecturer, but my passion was with my practice. There was always a part of me that wanted to be in practice.
First and foremost, can I call you Superwoman? I am trying to understand in 24 hours how you managed to keep, you're now in full-time basis. And you're lecturing. And then you still are going to be practicing. How did you manage that?
It was rough. I won't lie. It's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of early mornings. It's a lot of working on the weekends. But I must say I had and still have a very good support system. I think I've aligned myself both professionally and personally with people that support my vision and that support my goal. And that really helped a lot. Yeah.
And then as the years go by, in the version of your story, the Durban practice kind of fades away. When that happens, was there any thought to say, I'm not going to open another practice, or this is just too much? Let me just stick to lecturing. What was that process when that started? Was it like a burnout? Was it just we had something different? What was that fate?
So, I think with Durban, that practice itself, I don't think I ever really stepped away fully. I mean, I'm still involved to this day regarding the operations in the practice and the day-to-day running of the practice. But what always is in the back of my mind is that, I started that practice from an empty room. It was an office space. And today it generates an income. Today it's a practice that generates an income, it feeds another family, it serves a community. So those are sort of my why. Why do I keep this open? Because of that. Because of that reason. Yeah.
Okay, and I want to talk to you now. You're handing over. It's your baby.
It's my firstborn.
Your firstborn, you know. And you now have associates that are running it for you, and you continue lecturing full time.
Yes.
That trust in him, because I know, I think it's the hardest thing. You know, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't, at the first starting phase, maybe the first 5-10 years, you don't actually think of the order of succession, because that's your baby. You're always going to be in there.
Yes.
So now, how did it feel trusting others to lead your thoughts and concepts?
So, of course, there is that element of fear. There is that element of nervousness and anxiety when it comes to leaving your firstborn in the hands of somebody else. But first and foremost, I think I trusted God in His plan for my life. I trusted that I was where I needed to be at that time. And, you know, I've really, like I've said, I've got people in that practice that they just understand the vision. You know, Dr. Lynn and Dr. Pillay, they just understand the vision that I have for that practice. They share my goal. They want the practice to grow. As much as I wanted to grow, as much as I wanted to serve more and more of the community, they have that same goal in mind. So I think that's been the key to the success, is to just surround yourself with the correct people. Yeah.
And then after 6 years, in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, you leave the institution.
Yeah.
You stop being a lecturer.
Yeah.
You know, did you mourn that? Why did you feel like at that time it was the right time? What was the decision behind it? Actually, I want the tea.
So there were a number of decisions behind it. So my husband was working this side in Richards Bay. So it was the commute between Durban and Richards Bay for a number of years. I would say about 4 years I did that commute. So that got a bit much, you know. And then we also had decided that that was the time that we wanted to start a family. So that also was an element that came into it. And I think, like I said, you know, practice has always had my heart. It's always been my first love. So I just knew that I would only be able to fully commit to practice if I had to leave the lecturing. And I think also I had realized that the season had come to an end. I realized that I had achieved everything I wanted to achieve as a lecturer. I got out of that position what I feel I needed to. So it was time now to move on and follow practice.
Can I ask you a private question? And now this is woman to woman, as a mom, as a lover of life and love.
Yes.
I think we have a tendency in society of pitting a woman against herself as the entrepreneur and her maternal instinct to be a wife and a mom.
Yes.
And I want us to elaborate, because I never wanted to seem as if you stopped your dreams to follow your husband. You know, it was your own decision. And what would you say to a society now that makes us choose? It's either you're the full-fledged entrepreneur with the high heels who walks into the boardroom and everybody shakes, or you are a mother and wife. And I believe we can actually be both.
So that's the thing, you know, I think being our femininity as a woman, you have that brave, strong side of you, but you also have that soft and gentle side of you. And I think that's how God created us. He created us to be fierce, and He created us also to be soft and gentle. So I think you can have it all. You can do it all. Maybe not all the time, but you can do it all. You can, you know, go in there, push your work, push your business, push yourself. But then when you're at home, you're at home. That is your sanctuary. That is your space of relaxation. When you're with your family, that's where you can really just unwind and not have to always be the boss babe, you know?
I love that. I love that. And I think that's why I love doing passion pieces with women like you, that actually show us that you can actually be anything you want to be. Be a boss babe, and also just be a cute little cupcake.
Exactly.
So now, born and raised in GQ, and then you pave your way in Durban, and then you decide to come to the sizzling city of Umhlatuze, Richards Bay. That sounds to somebody else who would think that moving from Durban and coming to this side might be a I don't want to say a degrade, but just, it's a lower level from what Durban is and the hype. And also, here's another thing. I think people in Durban understand more of your field than here in Richards Bay. When you took the decision to come back, was there any instance where you're like, okay, this is crazy? Or did you come in saying, I'm coming to Richards Bay, I'm going to rock it?
Look, I must say that there's always a bit of insanity in every business owner. We all a little bit insane. But I think, as I was coming to Richards Bay, and I wasn't practicing here in the beginning, and you meet people and you chat and they ask you what you do and you say, no, you're a chiropractor. And then people start being interested, like, you need to come here. We need chiropractors. We don't have, there's such a need. And what I will say to the people who think that coming through to Umhlatuzi was a downgrade, do not sleep on the city of Umhlatuzi.
Drop that.
Okay?
Yes.
We have got a lot going on. In this little town of ours, we've got a lot going on. So, I found that there's not a lack of understanding of what chiropractic is. People know what we do. And, that's because of the TikToks and the shows and YouTube that we see. But there's a lack of resources. There's a lack of actual chiropractors to do the work. People don't want to drive to Belito. They don't want to drive far out. If you've got somebody on your doorstep, why not just come straight here? So that's, for me, it was more a strategic move to open up practices this side as well.
So now here's the crazy thing. You open here, you take the leap of faith and you kill it. You rock it. Congratulations on that, first and foremost. That is an achievement on its own. But now Durban is still operating. How do you split yourself between the two practices?
So for now, I run between Richards Bay and Empangeni.
Okay.
And then my associates and my business partner deal with Durban. So any issues that happen in Durban, I know that they've got it covered. I know that they will run it how I want it to be run. We all have that shared vision. We all have that shared goal. So I don't really have any fears when it comes to Durban. I think the only fear that any business owner has is, will the patients come? Will we make the sales? Will we do? But I mean, that's across the board. But I don't think I really have any operational fear or anything like that. I know that they will run it perfectly. I do check on them daily, check that everything's running smoothly. And of course, if they even need anything, I'm there as a support. And I think later on, when life settles a little bit, I might start going down to Durban, maybe every second week or so for a day or two, see my patients there and then come back. We'll just see how it goes. Yeah.
I have a feeling you'll do it sooner rather than later. The aura around you tells me that you're
We'll try.
So listen, we were just talking about the TikToks and I've had a session once, but it was like a 2-minute a thing on a game drive kind of vibe, and it was just and beautiful feeling. By the way, I sometimes joke and be like, this doesn't need a massage. This needs I just need an adjustment. And you see the videos, and to some other people it gives you not a cringe, but it's like the fear. And then you took it a step further and you deal with the pediatric population. What is it about the smaller child, those spines, the nervous system, that made you say you want to work specifically, not only in that field, but you wanted to target that field as well?
So with pediatrics, their nervous system is very primitive. So meaning that not a lot has happened in their lives to cause the nervous system to sort of be overloaded. As adults, we've experienced trauma, we experience a lot of things on a daily basis that kids haven't experienced yet. So the kids that I have treated and the pediatric patients that I have treated, they have responded so well to chiropractic. I check in with moms the next day or the day after, and they're blown away at the child. The child is different completely. So I think that sparked something in me, that if you can make such a meaningful change in such a little person's life, you can really set them up for such a well-adjusted life in so many ways, and they can be well-aligned. So that's why it sort of spoke to me, that pediatric population. Yeah.
Was there a specific child that you remember, or a case that you remember, that literally, because you even I can see the passion oozing from you as you speak about this.
Yeah.
And was there a specific child that when you worked with, and you saw those changes, you saw the family coming back, and it just sparked something?
Yeah. So I would say that the child that actually sparked my interest to go back to studying is my daughter, Lila. Lila is turning 2 this year. So when she was born at 35 weeks prematurely. So she was put in NICU for 21 days. And because of the nature of NICU and how they have to lay and how the kids are in the incubator, she had a lot of tubes on the one side. So turning her neck when she was that little, like a few weeks old, she couldn't do that. So she couldn't develop that turn to the one side and the other side. So much so that when she came home, she couldn't really turn as nicely. So I did some work on her, and over time, we worked with it and developed into, her rotation coming back. And then I would see like the effects with her crawling. Like she'd crawl confidently on one side, but then the other side she'd wobble a bit. So then we'd do some work and continue to do some work on her. So I think she was maybe the most significant case that I've treated. But there've been cases, there was once I think she's a 10-year-old girl that I treated. Her parents were concerned with how she would walk, like her walk just looked off. So we did a few realignments, did a few adjustments, and then in my previous practice I had a long passage, so I made her walk up and down the passage, and the parents just marveled at this child's walk has changed completely. So it's those instantaneous changes that you see, and I know our generation we frown upon instant gratification, but it's that instant gratification you see, and you're like, wow, I made a change for that child. So that's what really got to me.
Because I think that's one thing about your field, that it is instant.
Yes.
It's not like your normal doctors where you get your injection, you get your medication, and antibiotics after 7 days, then you'll get better.
Yes.
For you, it's literally as you come in, a person will tell you still on the table that, oh my word, that feels so much better.
Yeah, and I always say, patients walk into this practice despondent. They walk into the practice feeling down, but they walk out smiling. So then I know I've done my job, because they walk out so much happier and in less pain than when they walked in. Yeah.
There's a question I want to ask you, and as a female chiropractor, especially based in KZN. Is there a question, you've done a lot of interviews, you've done a lot of media, is there a question you wish they would have asked you, specifically as a female in the minority in KZN, in Mhlathuze? What is that question, and how would you answer that?
I would say the question, I think you maybe have already asked me, was how do you do it? How do you do this all? And I think, the answer to that is to just trust yourself. I think trust your instinct, trust yourself. You can do it. Don't ever let any negativity seep in. Always remain positive on a daily basis, because entrepreneurship is rough and you need to be positive daily.
You've built your entire career from leaving home, traveling thousands of miles, a long distance marriage, raising a family, the emotional trauma of your daughter, the pandemic, COVID, looting, and the current economic state of our country. Has there ever been a moment that literally almost broke you? And how did you pick yourself up from that and say, these factors are not going to take me away from this journey?
So I think that, there's so many people that have influenced me in just their word. So sometimes they'll say something to me and I'll ponder on that and think about it, and actually. But there's 2 instances that I can really stand out for me. And I think it was, I was much younger. my husband would say to me, back then we were just dating, and he would say, we need to make small sacrifices now that will ultimately pay off. And it's just something that's always just stuck with me. And my mother used to echo the same words, because she would say, sacrifice immediate pleasures for the ultimate joy. And I think that that is something that I would always remember. So when times would get tough, I would just say to myself, sacrifice your immediate pleasures for the ultimate goal. Because you know what you want to achieve, and you can achieve it. Making those small changes every day will lead up to one big change at the end. And of course, staying focused, keeping your eye on the prize. When all of this around you is falling apart, if you can have your tunnel vision and just keep your eye on the prize, you won't see the periphery. You know, you'll just focus on that end goal.
I'm trying to digest this entire I'll say, I don't want to use the word interview because it feels so intimate. But I'm trying to find words as I listen to your journey, and I can imagine of you at home or a young lady who's watching this, who comes from a small province or town, who comes from a close-knit family, who wishes to achieve her dreams. And I can just imagine how inspired they are. On this final note, what would you say to a young Cleo? And having lived this life, having gone through everything you've gone through, going back to the young Cleo who is still in a Gqeberha, who has not left the GQ, who's still contemplating whether should I move, should I do this, should I follow this? What would you say to the young Cleo?
I would say pray. Pray firstly. Trust God and trust yourself. Because in any business and in any situation, if you don't put your faith in God, if you don't pray about a situation, if you don't pray about something, you're never going to be successful. Like I stand on that, you know, that every day we do what we do and we're successful here every day because of God. And that's it, bottom line.
And that's on God.
Yeah.
Period. Thank you so much for sitting here with us today. I wish you only the best.
Thank you.
And may God continue to bless you and your family.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much, Samba. And thank you so much for coming through today and coming to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, after this, I'm coming in for a session.
No problem.
We still want to have a chat.
No problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Cleo as she takes us on a journey of 1,000 miles, and that you can do anything if you believe. I'm lost for words today. It was an extraordinarily beautiful and heartfelt interview with the beautiful doctor, proudly driven by Mid-Bay Motors. My name is Zama King Maklo. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you.